Welcome or welcome back to A Better Choice Homestead. My name is Kelly. On my channel I focus on food. Welcome to an edition of Tasty Tuesday, but it is not going to be a typical Tasty Tuesday. Normally I focus on quick, easy, healthy, nutritious, and delicious meals that you can get onto the table in 30 minutes or less. But tonight is a celebration dinner. So we have a birthday in the house and we have a tradition. So at the end of September, beginning of October, I cook a massive family feast. It is a seafood boil. This is the dish of the birthday person that they absolutely love. And I've been doing this for close to 20 years now. It's pretty simple. There are a lot of seafood ingredients. It's absolutely delicious and incredibly decadent. So we're not focusing on the health, we're focusing on the celebration, and let's get started. So for this dish, I have a pound of baby potatoes, small potatoes. You can use red, you can use white. I have 3 pounds of shrimp. I have 2 pounds of the colossal shrimp and 1 pound of the jumbo shrimp. I have 50 little neck clams. I have 4 pounds of crab legs, some medium small lobster tails as well, 2 pounds of sausage, 4 ears of corn cut in half. I have 2 full heads of garlic minced, and I have 6 cloves of garlic peeled and smashed. I have 1 large onion chopped. I have 1 large onion peeled and halved, and I have 2 full lemons cut into halves. That's it, other than spices, and I'm gonna show you how I throw this together. This doesn't take long to cook at all. There's just a certain order you wanna put the ingredients in. I'm gonna be using 2 pots on the stove today. I'm gonna be using a very large stock pot. This is actually my pressure canner because it is the largest stock pot that I own, other than my super, super large pressure canner, which is too heavy for my range. And then I'm also gonna be using a skillet. Super simple, let's get started. I've already got my pot turned on. It's starting to come up to a boil, but we can go ahead and get started creating some flavor in here. I'm adding a 1/2 cup of Old Bay seasoning, and I did not measure how much water I put in here. I just filled it up a little more than half. I'm gonna drop in a Zatarain's crab boil in a bag spice mix. I'm gonna go in with a tablespoon of Zatarain's shrimp and crab boil concentrated juice. I'm also going to add a tablespoon, or probably 2 based on the amount of water in here, of just some distilled vinegar. That just helps the crab be easier to shell. I'm gonna put my 2 full lemon halves in here. So here's 1 lemon halved. Here's 2. I'm gonna put my halves of a whole peeled and just sliced in half onion, and my 6 cloves of smashed garlic. So this is gonna create the seasoning base for the meal. We're gonna bring this up to a boil. All right, we are up to a boil, and so I am gonna be putting in these little red potatoes. You can use the white or yellow little potatoes. I prefer the red. And this might be 2 pounds. I have to look back and see what I bought. It was 1 bag of these, and it might be 2 instead of 1. These are going to boil for 8 minutes before we move on to the next step. I prepared all of my seafood ahead of time. I got everything scrubbed up nice and clean, made sure that everything was deveined. But if you haven't done that step in the beginning, this 8 minutes would be your chance. All right, our 8-minute timer has gone off. I'm gonna go ahead and add our corn. And you can adjust this, the contents of this, to your liking. So if you wanna add more corn, add more corn. If you don't like corn, add less corn. And now we're gonna go in with those clams. I'm gonna lower them in with some help, but I don't want them to crack and break. All right, that is all of the clams, and now we're gonna go in with the crab. This is snow crab. This has been completely scrubbed clean, and it is pre-cooked. So it really just needs to heat up and soak up some of the amazing flavor in this broth. And then I am gonna set a 5-minute timer for these. And while that 5 minutes is counting down, we are gonna get to work on the shrimp. I'm also gonna throw in those couple of lobster tails. I'm not a big fan of lobster, so I don't put a lot of lobster in this pot. All right, 5 minutes and let's get to the shrimp. All right, to my skillet, I am going to add a lot of butter. I'm gonna add 4 sticks or 1 pound of butter. I'm gonna add that minced garlic. I'm gonna add the 1 large onion diced. And I'm gonna let all of that butter melt and the onions start to cook down and get translucent before I add the shrimp. I'm also gonna be adding a little bit of hot sauce. I picked this up at my grocery store when I picked up the seafood. This is a local grocery store brand, Wegmans, but it's hot habanero pepper sauce. This is totally optional. I am just gonna add a little bit to give it a Cajun style kick. And I'm also gonna go in with more of that shrimp and crab boil concentrate, about a tablespoon. I have 1 more stick of butter on standby that I'll add after we take the shrimp out. I'll add it to the pan so we can get some of the flavors of the garlic, the hot sauce, the onions, and that shrimp boil concentrate, and that will be the butter dipping sauce. All right, we're gonna let this get nice and hot, and then we are gonna go in with these amazing, beautiful shrimp. Now, these are cleaned. I've also deveined them. I've taken off the feet, but I have left the shells on. That's totally preference. You can completely take the shells off of your shrimp if you'd like. I just think that since this is a dish that we're gonna be, kind of grabbing from a pot with our hands, it's nicer to have the shell on. That's just my preference. Timer just went off on the pot here. Now I'm gonna add all of this diced sausage. I used a mix of the beef sausage and the Polish kielbasa. And that is gonna go into this pot. And now we can get adding our shrimp. We are just gonna cook these until they are cooked through, and based on the number of shrimp I have, that might be 2 batches in here. I want that shrimp to absorb the flavor of the butter and the garlic and the onions and the seasonings. It does not take long to cook shrimp. You really want to get them pulled just as soon as the gray has gone away and they're pink on both sides. All right, I can go ahead and start to pull some of these now. And I've got my serving dish here. I'm just using a large roasting pan to serve this dish in. It's just easy to put in the middle of the table and let everybody grab what they want out of the pan. Now that the second batch of shrimp is in the pan, I'm gonna go ahead and get this turned off. This is done over here. Now I'm gonna start fishing out the food from the pot and putting it in the pan with the shrimp. Here's what we're looking like so far. All right, we're just gonna get some stuff out of this pot and put it into my serving pan. I'm gonna stir up that shrimp. I don't need the bag of seasonings anymore. Let me get a bowl to catch these water drips. These shrimp look incredible. The colossal shrimp are beautiful. They are a really deep pink. The extra large shrimp look lovely too. They're not quite as dark and amazing in color, but they sure smell phenomenal. All right, let's get some more crab in our bowl. I'm just gonna try to do some layers in here. Coming up with some sausage and some clams now. It's kind of like a treasure hunt. I'm gonna get these shrimp turned off. I'm gonna add the shrimp, because I already added half of it to the bottom of the pan, so the rest of the shrimp will get added over the top, along with all that amazing flavored butter. And if any of the clams didn't open at this point, don't eat them. They are not edible. They were not alive. You can serve this up with some crusty bread to help soak up a lot of these juices, flavors, the butter. Such an incredibly decadent and delicious celebration meal. We love it. Once a year. It's not cheap. Seafood is very expensive, but it is part of a birthday celebration. And a tradition. I haven't seen any clams yet that haven't opened. These looked really fresh. I did have one in the bag that had cracked. It was missing a quarter of its shell, so I did toss that one. But otherwise, it looks like we got 50 clams. We are getting pretty full in here. I'm gonna get some of these shrimp in there with that garlic, onion, and butter sauce. Definitely making a little bit of a mess. Still have more to fish out of the pot. Got a lot of potatoes. Might add some potatoes to the side. I think we are pretty full there. I'm gonna throw these potatoes back in. There will definitely be leftovers. I'll fish these out in just a few minutes. I wanna finish getting the butter prepped for serving, and I need to pour what's in this pan over the top of this goodness. Oh, it smells so good. I'm gonna get that last stick of butter going. This is gonna be the serving butter. I'll pour this into individual ramekins to serve at the table. But just look at this. Let me give you a close-up. Look how incredible. We've got this amazing shrimp in here, beautiful color, beautiful flavor everywhere, super fresh clams, crabs, some lobster tail, corn, sausage, little potatoes. This whipped up in 30 minutes for sure. There was some prep involved with getting all the seafood clean, but this is a blessing for our table, and we are gonna thoroughly enjoy digging into this. Now, I am gonna go and sit down and enjoy this with my family to celebrate a birthday, but I will give a little taste test. We'll try a little clam here. Oh my goodness. That is so fresh. With the clams, I do scrub them. I scrub them really well on the outside just to make sure there's no grit or sand or dirt lingering that could get in and ruin the flavor, the texture of the dish. Let me try one of the medium-sized shrimps. I've still got the tail and the shell on. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is something to look forward to every year. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. So I'm gonna go celebrate with my family. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Tasty Tuesday. My name is Kelly. You're at A Better Choice Homestead, and I do hope you come back and visit again soon.